concurrent monitor plus. So there's a second video with respect to the information security risk management. So in this particular video, we're going to see how do we measure the risk, okay, and what is the value of the safeguard that we need to actually put in place. Okay. So the asset value, okay, so how do you value the asset? There's something called the tangible asset and intangible asset. Okay, we will see how do you value, associate and value to the tangible asset and the intangible asset. Okay, so let me share my presentation. Yeah, so there's something with the risk analysis. So in the previous video, we saw risk is equal to threat multiplied by vulnerability multiplied by the probability multiplied by the impact. Threat multiplied by vulnerability multiplied by the probability multiplied by the impact. I'll show you how to do threat modeling, okay, on the next video. Okay, we're going to have a look at the stride. There are 16 different methodologies, okay, for doing a threat modeling techniques. So threat modeling, okay, so stride is one, PASTA is one. There'll be a separate series of videos on threat modeling techniques that we are going to use. Vulnerability, okay, so finding the vulnerability, most probably, okay, it's either manual or it's automated. The age of the hardware, all these things are manual, okay, but if there are automated software like Nexpose, Nessus, etc., okay, which can do the scanning, okay, Burp Suite, okay, and Accunotex, okay, but I love Z-Attack proxy, okay, and I love Nictor because I also do the training for the penetration testing. Okay, so Nictor is something that we actually use, and Zap is something which I love, okay, so it's a freeware from OWASP. Okay, so using stride or methodologies to identify the threat, and you also have something of the threat intelligence. There's going to be a separate series of videos on threat intelligence. So threat modeling to find out the threats and vulnerabilities, you've got scanners. So probability, okay, is the frequency of the attack, okay, and the impact is what is the damage it can actually cause. So initially, okay, these are all hypothetical situations, but over the period of time, okay, there could be a fact. If I'm going to do the risk analysis the first time for the organization, I cannot say how many times this has happened in the last so many years, right? So I have to base my judgment on the qualitative risk analysis. Moment the organization is more than 1 year old, okay, then I can actually say how many times we have faced a similar incident in the past. Okay, then I have a history. So I can easily find out the probability and the impact. Okay, this is called as a risk matrix, which I have chosen from safetyculture.com. Okay, the URL is actually given here. Ideally, an organization should have this risk matrix, okay? So insignificant, minor, significant, major, and severe, okay? And the left-hand side, you have got the column, I mean, the row titles as probability and the column header, okay? You can see on the top as an impact, okay? The insignificant, minor, significant, major, and severe, okay? Rare, unlikely, moderate, likely, and almost certain. Okay, usually, if at all there is a deviation of regulatory compliance, okay, there's going to be a high impact and high probability risk that you want to have. Okay. In fact, okay, repetition. Okay, I will not say high impact, high probability, but there is something which, if the risk is going to be there with you, which deviates from the regulatory compliance. Okay, that's the high risk anyway. Okay. Now, high risk and high probability is on the right hand side top. Okay, then slowly it comes to extreme, very high, medium, low, very low, etc. So you will use this particular table to categorize your risks, and then you are going to approach them. Okay, ideally, an organization should have this as a risk register. Okay, so that I have seen the organizations doing an enterprise risk management meeting. Okay, every month, out of which the security risk management meeting happens, once a week. And then when you're going to meet them monthly to represent the cyber security risk, then you have enough of data to represent the complete organization health. And obviously, you'll have the point of contact, like a security champion, okay, from various departments are going to give you the inputs for the security risk. Okay, so probability multiplied by impact, okay, on this particular risk matrix, okay, is actually going to form the veritable base for you to approach the risk treatment plans. Okay, so ATMA, avoid, transfer, mitigate, and accept is what we actually saw in the previous video. Important term, asset value. Okay, we've got tangible asset and intangible asset. We haven't discussed about it. Exposure factor, the percentage value of the asset that is lost. Single loss expectancy, if the incident happens for the first time, okay, what is the value that has been lost? Annualized rate of occurrence, okay, if so many similar incidents are happening over the period of, let's say, 3 or 4 years, so given the hypothetical situation. So what is the percentage that you're actually losing every year? And annualized loss expectancy is what is the monetary value that has been lost every year. Total cost of ownership, okay? If you're going to implement a security safeguard, okay, then what is the cost that's incurred, okay, for that? Okay, we'll discuss about it. ROSI is return on security investment. ROI is a very common term. ROI is return on investment. Return on security investment is specific to information security. So we have tangible asset and intangible asset. Tangible asset is something that you can touch. Intangible asset is something that you cannot take. You only feel it, okay? Reputational damage, brand loyalty, okay? These are the examples of an intangible asset. So how do you value the intangible asset? There's something as a market approach, okay? How the market actually values, okay, this asset, okay? It's called as a market value. An income approach, okay? What is the income that you are going to accrue because of this particular asset after some years? It's called as the income approach. Cost approach is, the cost of replacing it, okay? For example, a couple of weeks back, there was an discussion on the internet, okay, on the DocuSign, okay? So the Sridhar Vembu, okay, so the head of the Zoho said, no, we have a Zoho DocuSign, which is much more, which has all the features and less expensive as compared to the actual DocuSign. Okay, so there was a debate on which one is better and why it's ridiculously priced higher, the actual, the DocuSign, and Zoho DocuSign said we are less price with the same future. Okay, all these things are which is it changes over the period of time. Okay, what I mean to say is the market approach, income approach, or the cost approach. Okay, over the period of time, things will actually change. Okay, in fact, the cost of owning a server, because I told you, right, already I started my career in 1997, the mainframe, the mid range. So the cost of owning a server, okay, those times very expensive. Okay, and I have seen the Infinity service from IBM, okay, for Microsoft operating systems, okay, being deployed in the organization. So from there, we move on to different types of platform. Now we are on a cloud. Okay, so we were on the VMware. Okay, on-prem, then we are on VMware with the Blade servers, etc. Now we are on the cloud now. After 10, 20 years, we don't know where we are going to be. Okay. Now, owning a server for the enterprise was it's something which had an affordability issue. Okay, for example, if it's a SMB, okay, so they had to shell out a lot of money to buy, a high-end server. But now, with all the cloud service providers, okay, it's a matter of using a card, and the operational expenditure, the capex is actually not there. Okay, things are changing. So where we were and where we are now and where we are going to be, okay, we don't know. Okay, but again, what I mean to say, the valuation that I'm actually doing for a particular product today need not be the same, okay, after a few years, because the change is only constant in the world and as well as in the IT world. Okay, but again, for the moment, for the discussion's sake, we have three approaches: market approach, income-based approach, and cost approach. Every approach has got their own pros and cons. Okay, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect in the world. Nothing is also perfect in the information security world. Market approach. Okay, so getting the transaction details for a similar product is next to impossible. And the income approach, we are anticipating the income. Okay, after which could be generated after few months or few years. Okay, it might or might not happen. Now, for example, let me tell you a very classic example. With the credit card details of certain customers, as long as the credit card is valid, okay, then it has got some value. Okay, after 5 years, the credit card, the lifetime of the credit card is not there. So it's not going to hold good after 5 years. Okay, the value might or might not be there. If the value for the data subject, the provided the data subject is alive, okay, it will have value or it will not have value. The data subject is alive or not, okay, the value depends upon what sort of an organization you are. Okay, for insurance, okay, so somebody is going to be alive, will make the premium, okay, will pay the premium. But if somebody is deceased, they need to pay the insurance amount, okay. So it all matters on what sort of an industry you are, okay. The cost approach, obviously. I was discussing about the actual DocuSign and then the Zoho DocuSign. Maybe tomorrow some other company will come. Maybe if Zoho DocuSign has not been there, we'll not be discussing about this today. Okay, so everything is dynamic in the IT world. Exposure factor, the percentage of the actual asset. That's why we are going to do this with the scenario, so you'll understand it better. Single loss expectancy, the cost of an asset. Okay, if the asset is actually lost, what is the amount the organization is losing is actually a single loss expectancy. Annualized rate of occurrence. Okay, so how many incidents have happened over the period of time? Okay, usually calculated. It's annualized. Okay, over the period of years. Okay, for three incidents, 7 years, 5 incidents, 10 years, blah blah blah. Okay, it's on actual fact. Annualized loss expectancy is actually based on single loss expectancy an annualized rate of occurrence. Okay, if the single loss expectancy is for a single security incident. Okay, but if the similar incident has happened over a period of time, okay, and what is the total amount that is lost, annualized is the annualized loss expectancy. This is a very important factor because whenever we are going to deploy a security control, the cost of the control annually should not be more than the ALE. Okay, to be very honest, if the asset itself is only $100, why should I spend $120 to actually secure it? So it's ridiculous, right? So it's all based on the value of annualized loss expectancy. Scenario, okay, we have two scenarios to be discussed here. Let me pick up a notepad. Do a calculation, okay, for the scenario one, scenario two. So scenario one, okay, asset value, cost of data plus cost of laptop, okay. Assume that, okay, there's going to be an data on the laptop. So cost of the data, let's say 19,000 USD and cost of the laptop. Okay, so the asset value is going to be 20,000 US dollars. Okay, an exposure factor. Scenario one is without the disk encryption. Okay, exposure factor is 100%. Why 100%? Because the disk encryption is not there. Okay, the data is also lost and is exposed. Okay, disk encryption does not secure you against the disk encryption is not file encryption. Disk encryption will only help you for doing the theft. Okay, disk encryption is actually not there. So it's totally it's gone. Okay, so the data is gone and the data is disclosed, and the asset is also out of your control. So 100% exposure, 100% is one. So SLE is going to be 20,000 multiplied by 1 is equal to 20,000. 20,000 USD is lost. If one asset which is worth 20,000 is lost, okay, annualized rate of occurrence, if this incidents, let's say 15 incident, okay, happen per year. Okay, 15 incidents happen per year. Okay, so AR is equal to 15. ALE is equal to SLE multiplied by 15 multiplied by ARO, which is going to be 30,000, which is going to be 15, okay, 300,000. 300,000, okay, is what's being lost every year, US dollars, okay. Now, if I'm going to have the disk encryption, scenario two with disk encryption, that means the disk is encrypted. If the hardware is lost or the laptop is lost, still they cannot get the data. Okay, so asset value, the value remains the same. The value remains the same. Where the actual difference is the exposure factor, okay, is only 1,000 of 20,000. Okay, so the value of the cost of the laptop is 1,000 USD, and the total cost is 20,000 USD. So this becomes 1 by 20. Okay, SLE is equal to 20,000 divided by 1 by 20, that becomes 1,000. Okay, 1,000 US dollars, 15 per year. So SLE multiplied by ARO, SLE is 1,000. Okay, ARO is 15. So this becomes 15,000 US dollars. Merely by doing a disk encryption, we are saving, drastically. Okay, we are saving 285,000 US dollars per annum. Okay, now there's something called as total cost of ownership. Okay, total cost of ownership. What is the total cost of ownership? For example, if the encryption software cost you 10,000 US dollars, okay, and 100,000 US dollars and 10,000 USD per year is the a maintenance fee. Okay, AMC, annual maintenance fee with respect to the vendor, and then there are, let's say, 1,000 laptops. Let's say there are 1,000 laptops. Okay, and it requires 4 hours for an technician to install the encrypt that particular disk, and per hour, okay, when they are charging $50. Okay, $50 multiplied by 4. Okay, it requires 200 USD per laptop. Okay, so 200 USD multiplied by 1,000. Okay, is equal to 200,000 US dollars. 200,000 US dollars. Okay, that's what it requires in totality. Okay, so 200,000 US dollars is what is effort that's been spent on encrypting it, and 100,000 is the cost of the 100,000 is going to be the cost of the product. Okay, and over the period of 3 years, it's going to be for the annual maintenance charges 30,000 US dollars. So this becomes 3,300. Okay, this is what it's going to be. Okay, I might be wrong on the calculation. So 200,000 plus 100,000 plus 30. Okay, so 330,000 US dollars divided by 3 years. Okay, it becomes okay USD per year is what I'm actually shelling out as a total cost of ownership. Now, return on security investment is equal to annualized loss expectancy without the safeguard. Okay, without the safeguard minus ALE with safeguard minus TCO. Okay, total cost of ownership. So there's going to be 300,000. Okay, so 300,000 minus 15,000 minus 110,000. Okay, so 300,000 minus 15,000 minus 110. So the return on the security investment, okay, the ROCE is 205,000. Okay, ideally for any company, whenever you are deploying the security control, okay, you should make a calculation like this to find out whether what could be the benefit for the organization. The cost of the safeguard is different and the value of the safeguard is different. Okay, because the cost of the safeguard can ensuring that expenditure is not made, okay, providing the more benefit. They both are actually same. Okay, the cost of the safeguard, okay, the value of the safeguard is different. So return on security investment is going to be the value of the safeguard. Okay, so for every control they need to do like this. Even if you're going to replace a control with something else, okay, you have the metrics anyway, right? So how many incidents have been reported? For example, if you're moving from one antivirus to another antivirus, how many incidents have been reported with the previous antivirus and how long you had been spending your time? Again, what are the cost of the antivirus? Okay, what are the cost of the new antivirus? What are the annual maintenance contract? Okay, and how many incidents have come up now? Okay, that means you can choose a particular department and do a pilot for the new antivirus software, look at the number of incidents reported, then you can compare saying that, okay, the new antivirus is better than the old one. Okay, there's a way that you can actually do it. So this calculation with the ALE, okay, and SLE, SG, etc., is very important for your information security. Okay. Yeah, so this on this particular video. So my name is Subramaniam Shankar. If you want to learn more about CISSP and join me for the training, you can mail me on training@itriplus.org.uk or chat with me on +91 99405 87544. Cheers then. Wish you a goodbye until we meet for the next video on the secure risk management with respect to CISSP made easy by Subbu series. Thank you.